Welcome back to the video lecture series on design and analysis of algorithms. In the last few videos we have seen how to solve various real-time problems using the greedy approach. So far we have seen how to use the greedy approach to solve the fractional knapsack problem, job sequencing with the deadlines problem. And today I came up with another interesting problem that can be solved using the greedy approach more efficiently. So let's start the discussion. In this video we'll see what the minimal spanning tree problem is and what are the various approaches to solve this problem, and how to solve the problem using the brute force approach and how efficiently you can solve the problem using the greedy approach. Of course, there are two different greedy approaches to solve the minimal spanning tree problem. So one is the Kruskals algorithm and the other one is the Prim's algorithm. So we'll look at these two approaches to solve the minimal spanning tree algorithm in detail with examples, and at the end of the lecture I'll close it with remarks on the time complexity analysis of these two approaches. Let's try to understand what the problem related to minimal spanning tree is. So you will be given a graph and you need to identify the minimal spanning tree in the graph, and the graph that is given to you is an undirected graph and which is a connected graph, and from that graph you need to find the tree which is a minimum spanning tree. So first of all we need to understand what a tree is, what the spanning tree is, and what the minimum spanning tree is. Then only you can understand how to find the minimal spanning tree. So now let's see what a tree is. So consider this example which is a tree. Of course all of you know what a graph is, right? So a graph is a set of vertices and edges. So optionally edges are used to connect the vertices. That's what the graph is. In this video we'll be discussing more on the trees. So let me make you understand what a tree is. A tree is a connected acyclic graph. Acyclic graph means which do not have any cycles. Connected means every node is connected. There is no isolated node in the graph. So such kind of graphs are known as the trees, a connected and acyclic graph. So consider this example where there are no cycles in this graph and all the nodes are connected. You can consider this as a tree. So basically a tree is a specific type of graph. When you consider a tree with n nodes, then it has exactly n minus 1 edges. So if you observe here, so here there are 14 nodes, and if you count there will be exactly 13 edges in this graph. If you remove any of these edges, then it will not become a tree, because there will be, and say for example if I remove this edge, then it becomes a non-connected graph. So that's why it will not become a tree. And moreover, if you add one more edge to this graph, then there will be some form of cycles, and then also you cannot call it as a tree. So that is how. So a tree is a connected acyclic graph, and if the graph is having n nodes, then there should be exactly n minus 1 edges in the graph. So you need to observe one thing: when you are given a graph with n nodes and it contains less than or equal to n into n minus 1 by 2 edges. So in the complete graph, then you will be having n into n minus 1 by 2 edges, and if it is non-complete, then there will be less than that number of edges. So this point has to be observed carefully. So now let's try to understand what a spanning tree is. So for the given graph, so how do you define a spanning tree? So let's see that. So given a connected and undirected graph, so which is denoted with a graph is denoted with G and V comma E. So this G can be denoted with V comma E, where V denotes the set of vertices and E denotes the set of edges. Then so a spanning tree of that graph is actually a subgraph which spans the given graph. Means it should contain all the vertices from the original graph, and also it connects all the vertices in the original graph. That's what the spanning tree is. So consider this example graph, and this is a spanning tree for this graph. This is one of the spanning tree for this given graph. So how can you define that? It should contain all the vertices from the given graph, and also all the vertices, if you observe, they are connected. So such a tree is known as a spanning tree. So if you observe, all the vertices are taken from this graph, and these edges are also part of these edges only. So that's how I can call this as a subgraph of the original graph. So you can define a spanning tree as a subgraph of the given graph, so which has all the vertices from the original graph and which has a subset of edges from the given graph, and how you are selecting those edges such that it is connecting all the vertices in the subgraph. So that's how you can define a spanning tree. Of course, for a given graph, it is possible to have more number of spanning trees also. It need not to be a unique spanning tree. You can have multiple possible spanning trees for a given graph. Especially when the given graph is a complete graph, you will be having more number of spanning trees. Consider this example graph. So where you are having 3 different nodes and it is a complete graph. How can you call it as a complete graph? So every node is connected with the other node, right? So if you observe, there is an edge between A and the remaining vertices of the graph. So A to C there is an edge, A to B there is an edge, and similarly from C also to all the rest of the nodes it is having an edge, and similarly from B also to all the rest of the nodes there is an edge. So such a graph is known as a complete graph. So if you consider, so these are all the spanning trees for the given graph. So what is a spanning tree? Spanning tree should have all the vertices from the given graph and all the vertices must be connected. So if you can design such a graph, then you can call this as a spanning tree. So this is one of the spanning tree, this is the other spanning tree, and this is the other spanning tree. So for the given graph, I am able to design 3 different spanning trees. There is a possibility of designing more than one spanning tree for the given graph. So that's what can be noticed here. So especially when the graph is a complete graph, there is a possibility of constructing more number of spanning trees. And if it is a complete graph, then if you can remove E minus n plus 1 edges, then so you can construct the spanning tree. Say for example, here there are 3 vertices. So you can denote the number of vertices either by n or by v, where v stands for the vertices. So if here the number of vertices are 3 and E stands for the number of edges, which is also 3, then if you can remove E minus n plus 1, that is 3 minus 3 plus 1. So if you can remove at most one edge from this graph, then it forms a spanning tree in this example. So a complete graph with 3 nodes, in that if you remove any one of these edges, then you can design a spanning tree for the given graph. And how many such spanning trees are possible is, so you can design n power n minus 2 number of spanning trees if the graph is a complete graph. Here n value indicates the number of vertices. So here the number of vertices are 3. So 3 power 3 minus 2. What is it? The value is 3 power 1, it is equal to 3. So you are able to design 3 different spanning trees for the given complete graph. This holds good only when the graph is a complete graph. And for the non-complete graph also, there is a possibility of having more number of spanning trees, but it need not to be n power n minus 2. And now let's consider this graph, which is a complete graph again, where the number of vertices v or n is equal to 4. And how many number of spanning trees are possible for this? So it can be computed as 4 power 4 minus 2, which is equal to 4 square, that is 16. So it is possible to design 16 different spanning trees for this complete graph with number of nodes as 4. So you can observe here. So all these graphs are the spanning trees for the given graph. So here there are of course all the vertices you are taking into consideration, but you are considering only few of the edges. So here are these 3 edges, here are these 3 edges, so which are in the solid lines only, you need to consider them as a part of the spanning tree. So that is how there are 16 spanning trees for this complete graph. Now let's see what is the cost of a spanning tree is. So how do you compute the cost of a spanning tree? So far we have discussed the spanning trees for an unweighted graph. Say for example, if the graph is weighted, then so it is possible to define the cost of the spanning tree. So for the given weighted graph, then you can define the spanning tree as the sum of the weights of all the edges in the spanning tree. So that can be treated as the cost of the spanning tree. Say for example, consider this weighted graph which is having weights for every edge. Say for example, for this edge the weight is 5. That is, you can consider it as cost. So depending on the application, you can treat the weight as the cost or distance or the value or whatever it, profit or whatever it is. It depends on the application you are considering. Between B and C, so the cost is 1. So between the edges B and D, the cost is 2. Between the edges A and D, it is 5. So on and so forth. For every edge, you are given a cost. So now I can treat this graph as a weighted graph, right? So for this weighted graph, so this is one of the spanning tree, right? And after constructing the spanning tree, so I know that A to B the cost is 5, and for B to D the cost is 2, and for C to D the cost is 4. and the cost of this spanning tree can be computed as the cost of all the edges in the spanning tree. The sum of the cost of all the edges in the spanning tree is considered as the cost of the spanning tree. That is 5 plus 2 plus 4 is equal to 11. The cost of this spanning tree is 11. So consider this weighted graph now, and for this graph I have constructed 4 different spanning trees. So all the possible spanning trees I have derived, and you can observe, so because it's a weighted graph, so I have noted the cost of each of the edges also, and the cost of this spanning tree is 11, the total cost of the spanning tree, and the total cost of this spanning tree is 14, and this is 10, and this is 8. So from this you can notice that the cost of each of the spanning tree is not the same, and the spanning tree with the least cost is known as the minimum spanning tree. So that's what the problem we have taken into consideration, and now we'll see how to solve this problem using the greedy approach. So I hope now you understand what the minimum spanning tree is. Minimum spanning tree is the spanning tree with the least cost edges, and you remember there can be a possibility of having multiple spanning trees with a minimum cost also. So you can have one or more of the spanning trees which are having the equal cost, which is the minimum among all the possible spanning tree costs. Okay, and here in this example, so this is the spanning tree which is giving me the least cost. So for this graph, so this is the least cost spanning tree or the minimum spanning tree. Now let's see what are the real-time applications of this minimal spanning tree is. The minimum spanning tree can be used for the civil network planning, or you can use it for the computer network routing protocol, or to design the local area networks, to apply as an application for the touring operations also. Say for example, you would like to visit number of cities and you would like to visit all the cities, so with a minimum cost. So then you can apply the minimum spanning tree and you can find the tour which is giving you the least cost. So these are all the applications of the minimum spanning trees. So there are a lot of real-time applications where the minimum spanning trees can be used for. So consider this example, so where the houses are given and all the houses are connected with the electricity poles, electricity wiring, and now I would like to rewire the houses such that it costs me less. So if you observe, this connection is not required, this connection is not required, even after removing the connections also if you observe. So now all the houses are connected with the electricity, but the cost is now reduced. So that's the advantage of using the minimum spanning trees. And now consider this example, so of a local area connection network. So now every system is connected, but I don't want to do that, right? So with this kind of connection, there is a lot of wiring is happening and the speed would be less. When you now what I can do is I can design a network which is giving me the least cost. So this is one of the solution which reduces the cost of wiring. So that is where the minimum cost spanning trees can be used in the real-time applications. So now let's have a look at the problem statement once again. So you will be given a connected undirected graph, and the objective is you need to find the spanning tree with the least cost. So that's what the problem statement is. So say for example, given this graph, you need to find the spanning tree with the least cost. But here the weights of the graph are not given, so, but you will be given the weight for every edge in the graph. Then only it is possible to find the weighted spanning tree. When the weights are not given, maybe you can treat the cost of the edge as 1. Okay, assuming that the cost of the edges are 1. So with that you can find the minimum spanning tree for the unweighted graphs. So now let's see what are the various approaches you can solve the problem of minimal spanning tree. The minimum spanning tree can be solved using the greedy approaches. So like there are 2 popular algorithms which helps us to efficiently solve the minimal spanning tree problem. The Kruskal algorithm and the Prim's algorithm. So these algorithms are named after the scientists Kruskal and the Prim's. So that's how they are popularly known as the Kruskal's algorithm and Prim's algorithm. And let's see the brute force approach. So how inefficient the brute force approach is, so why we need to have these kind of algorithms, efficient greedy algorithms to solve the MST problem. So then we can better understand if you consider the brute force approach. So now let's see how the problem of MST can be solved using the brute force approach. So in the brute force approach, you need to find all the possible subgraphs of the graph G. So that's what the first step is, and after finding the subgraphs of G, you need to find which are the spanning trees, because all the subgraphs of the graph need not to be the spanning trees, right? So you need to list out all the ones which are spanning trees, and among those spanning trees you need to find whichever is giving the minimum cost. So that is the third step, is find the tree with the minimum weight, and that can be returned as a solution. But if you observe, the time complexity of this brute force approach solution is the exponential time complexity. That is why it is not feasible when n is large, because the time complexity, maybe you can consider the time complexity as order of n power n. So even for smaller values of n also, so this kind of solution is not feasible. So that's why we need an efficient solution to solve the MST problem. Why is it order of n power n actually? So when the complete graph is given, in the worst case the graph could be the complete graph, right? So when there is a complete graph, how many spanning trees are possible? N power n minus 2, right? So you need to find all the spanning trees for the given graph. Don't worry about the subgraphs. You just, even if you consider all the spanning trees also, it comes into n power n minus 2. So when you list out all the spanning trees itself, it will take n power n minus 2. That's how the time complexity becomes order of n power n, which is exponential in nature. So that's how we need an efficient solution to solve the MST. Now let's see how MST can be solved in more efficient manner. So there are more efficient ways to solve the MST problem other than the brute force approach. So that is, they are the Kruskals algorithm and the Prim's algorithm. So both are the greedy approaches. So now let's see each algorithm in detail. So let's start with the Kruskals algorithm, how this Kruskals algorithm works. In case of the Kruskals algorithm, first you need to sort all the edges in the graph, so with respect to their weights. In the increasing order of weights you need to find. So remember, this problem, MST problem, is an optimization problem because you are trying to reduce the weight, right? So in case of the introduction video, we have discussed that. So the algorithms where you are trying to minimizing or maximizing something, then such problems are known as the optimization problems. Okay. So in this case also, so we are trying to reduce the total weight of the spanning tree. So that's how it comes under the optimization problem. While choosing the edges, you are choosing the ones which are with the least cost. For that, first step is you need to sort the edges in ascending order, and then after sorting the edges you need to add the edges one by one to the solution, the spanning tree or the subgraph solution one by one. And in which order you are considering the edges? The ones with the least cost you need to consider. And simply can you add the edges, the smallest edges? It's not possible, right? So once the newly added edge is not forming any cycle, then only you can add such an edge. So these are the three steps that can be followed to solve the problem of MST using the Kruskals algorithm. You just sort the edges and you just add the edges one by one such that there are no cycles in the graph. The approach is very simple. It's damn easy to solve the problem. So I would say that this is the easiest problem in the design and analysis of algorithms. But the problem is very important. So consider this graph. This is the given graph. So we are going to solve a problem now using the Kruskals algorithm. This is the given graph, which is a weighted connected graph. If you see, it's a connected graph. So there is a possibility of finding the spanning tree. If the graph is not a connected graph, then it is not possible to derive the solution of MST. Remember that. You need to understand all these things. So now this is the given graph, which is a weighted connected graph. We need to find the solution for this minimal spanning tree. So now the first step is you need to arrange all the edges in the graph in the increasing order of their weights. So I have sorted all the edges. The least cost ones are the BD and DT. And whenever there are more than one edge with the same cost, you can randomly choose one among those edges. So BD I have taken first, then DT, which are having the least cost, and the next least cost are AC and CD. So the next least cost. So like that, I just sorted all the edges as per their weights in ascending order. So now you need to consider the subgraph with all the vertices and vertices alone. You need not to include any of the edges from the original graph. And now you need to add the edges one by one such that there are no cycles. So now let's see. So this is the given graph and these are the sorted edges as per the weights in increasing order. This is the initial subgraph, that is the initial solution for the minimal spanning tree. I just have taken all the vertices from this graph. That's all. And now what do I need to do? The next step is you need to consider the edge with the minimum cost. I just consider BD as the first edge. So if I add this edge to the solution, is it forming any cycle or not? That's what you need to check every time when you add a new edge to the solution. So BD, if I add, there is no problem at all. There is no cycle at all. So I can very well add that edge. And so this is done. And now consider the next edge. The next edge with the least cost is dt, and if I add this dt to the solution, is it forming any cycle in the graph? No, right? So I can very well add this edge also. This is also added. Now next least cost edge is AC. See how simple the problem is. So now AC is the next least cost edge, and if I add this edge also, there is no problem. So add that edge also. Now the next one is CD. If I add CD also, there is no problem. So I am adding that also. Now CB is the next one. If I add the CB, then I am getting a cycle. So try to add this edge and see. So now if you add this, there is a cycle that is formed. So you should not add that edge. Such kind of edges you should not add. So CD is not, CB is not added. Now BT. So BT is this one. If I add this also, I am getting a cycle. So don't add that. AB. So AB is with 6. So if I add this also, I am getting a cycle. So don't add that. SA. SA if I add, there is no cycle. And 7. And if you observe, no, you need not to check the remaining edges, because already there are n-1 edges, and if there are n-1 edges, then the tree is formed, because a tree contains exactly n-1 edges. So as you have n-1 edges in the resultant solution, you can stop the iterations, and so you need not to consider the remaining edges at all. So if you observe, 7, this is considered, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 edges are included because there are 6 vertices in the graph. That's how you can solve the minimal spanning tree problem using the Kruskals algorithm. And now let's see what is the cost of the spanning tree. So the cost of this spanning tree is, you need to do the summation over all the edges in the spanning tree. It's 7 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2. And this gives 10, 15, 17. So 17 is the cost of the spanning tree. So that's how you can find the minimal spanning tree using the Kruskals algorithm. So you can check, even if you can form multiple spanning trees also, this one is the one which is a systematic way you are solving the spanning tree problem. So the same algorithm step by step I have designed here. In the exam you need to write it down like this. So the given graph, so then you need to take all the vertices, then you, so here you can observe that this is the edge that is added, and here in the next step, so these are the 2 edges that are added. So you need to write in the examination in the stepwise manner, otherwise so you will be losing marks. So and here, because there is a loop that is getting formed here when I add this edge CB, so I should not consider this. And the next step is add 7, and with that you can close the solution. This is just to demonstrate how you should demonstrate your example in the examinations. And now let's look at the pseudocode of this Kruskals approach. So first you need to sort the edges in the increasing order of their weights. So you can do this with a heap. Either you can use the heap, or you can simply sort all the edges as per the array. Either of the ways you can follow. And once the edges are sorted, what you need to do is, so you just initialize a separate disjoint set. So we are going to use the disjoint set union find algorithms, so to solve this problem. So you just separate each of these vertices into the disjoint sets, and then so you just consider the edge for every edge that is already in the sorted order. You consider one of the edge uv, and this uv, if they are belonging to, if u and v are belonging to different disjoint sets, and if they are not forming any cycle in the resultant graph, then you can add that to the solution. So add that edge to the solution when u and v are in different disjoint sets, and then so you need to then make the sets u and v into a single set, that is apply union operation on the sets u and v. Now let's see how you can solve the same problem using the disjoint set union algorithms. So you need to form the disjoint sets for every vertex. So B, D, A, C, then A, B, C, D, T and S. So these are the 6 sets that I have considered initially, and now so from already they are sorted. So first I consider this edge UV, that is with the weight 2. So BD, of course, they are belonging to two different disjoint sets. So I can very well add them, right? So BD I can add. So BD I can add. And now after adding them, because they are belonging to different disjoint sets, I am adding them. So because they are added into the solution, you need to form a single set out of those sets. Now these are the sets. And now what is the next one? The next one is DT. And DT, whether they are belonging to different sets or not. So D is in the set and T is in the set. So I can add DT also to the solution. Now after adding, so this T will not be there. So because BD is also not there, BDT, they will form a single set. Now these four are the sets that are remaining. And if you observe, AC is the next least cost edge, and A and C are belonging to different sets, different disjoint sets. I can very well add that also, and after that A and C you need to make it as a single set. And after that, after doing this, the next one is CD. So if you observe, C and D are also belonging to different sets, so CD also I can very well add. So A, C, B, D, T. So now S alone is in single set and the remaining are in the single set. Now only two sets are left with us. So now CD is done. So now BC, can I add this? It's not possible to add BC. BT also it's not possible. AB, it's also not possible. SCA, of course I can add this. SCA are in different sets. So this is how you can solve according to the pseudocode that I just have explained. The first solution is easy to draw the solution, but as per the pseudocode, this is the more efficient solution, because whenever you are using the disjoint set union operations, then you will get more efficient solutions. So now let's see how the time complexity is calculated using this Kruskals algorithm to solve the MST. So if there are n number of elements, to sort n number of elements, what is the time complexity? It is order of n log n, even if you use a best sorting algorithm, right? So here what we are sorting actually, here we are sorting the edges. And how many edges are there? E number of edges, right? That's what the notation we are using. So first sorting, it takes order of E log E time complexity. And once they are sorted, you are applying the union and find operations, and every union and find operation will take only order of log V time. And what is this time complexity? We will see in the next class whenever we are discussing that disjoint set union operations. And every union and find operation takes order of log V time. And after sorting the list of edges, what you are doing, you are iterating over every edge and you are applying the union and find algorithms, right? So union and find operations you are using, and for that it will take log V time, and for every edge you are applying this, right? So it will be order of E log V, and the total time complexity will become order of E log E for sorting of the edges, and order of it's E log V for the find operations on every edge. So for the first step, for sorting, it takes order of E log E, and for the union operation, it is for each union find operation it is log V, and for all the edges you need to apply the union find operation, so it takes E log V time, and altogether the total time complexity comes to order of either E log V or E log E, but there is a catch here. So E log V, I can write it as there is a catch here, you need to understand. So E can be replaced with V square also, because in a complete graph you will be having a maximum of n into n minus 1 edges, right? So it will be maximum of order of E square, and when you substitute V square either here or here, it becomes order of E log V square. So you can write it here as order of E log V square, and then it becomes order of 2E log V, right? Now I can write it as order of E log V. So always we need to represent the time complexity in terms of the input. What is the input to this algorithm? The number of edges and number of vertices. That's how we are representing the time complexity in terms of edges and vertices. The total time complexity of the algorithm is order of either E log E, or you can even write it as E log V also. So it's more efficient, right? So when the time complexity of the brute force approach is order of n par n, so it's reduced to order of E log V. It's log linear time complexity. And now let's see the second approach to solve the same problem using the greedy approach, that is a Prince algorithm. The steps for implementing the Prim's algorithm is, the first step is you need to initialize the minimum spanning tree with one of the vertex you are selecting at random. You just select one of the vertex from the given graph randomly, and you need to select the edges which are connected to the part of the solution. So such edges only you need to select, and then if it is not forming any cycle, then you can add the connected edge to the solution, and this step has to be repeated until we get a spanning tree, or n-1 edges are added to the spanning tree. You need to repeat the second step. So when we demonstrate the example, all the doubts will be cleared. So now let's consider this example. So this is the given graph, the same graph I am taking, and how the Prim's algorithm and Kruskal's algorithm are different in approach, we'll see that now. So you can select any of the vertices. So you are just taking all the vertices in the given graph, and you need to select one of the vertex randomly from the given graph. I am selecting A. So there is no restriction at all. Absolutely there is no restriction. So you can select any of the vertex randomly from the given graph. I am selecting the vertex A, and from this in the initial solution, so this is the only edge that is in the initial solution. So A is only the part of the solution now, right? And now from this vertex, what are the connected edges you need to understand. So what are the connected edges from this? So A to B, A to S, and A to C. And among these connected edges, which is having the least cost, the edge AC, right? So you just add that. Now you can consider, in the next step, you can consider all the edges that are connected either to A or to C. So what are the edges that you can consider now? So from A, you can consider 6, 3, and so you can consider A to B, A to C, A to S. And in addition, from C you can consider even, so A to C to B, C to D, and C to S also. But among all these, so the least cost ones are these two, but this is already considered added to the solution, that cannot be. And this edge I can add it very well, and while adding the edge you need to consider whether it is forming any cycle or not. So here in this case it's not forming any cycle, so I can add that. Now what are all the edges I can consider? So you can consider all the edges that are connected to A, all the edges that are connected to C, and all the edges that are connected to D, all the edges that are connected to B also. And so the edges that are already joined to the solution, those you need to not to consider. Now all the remaining edges you need to see, and whichever is giving the minimum cost. So this edge you can consider, this edge you can consider, this edge you can consider. And among all these, whichever is having the least cost, those edges you can consider. Now I can add B to D because it is having the least cost. And of course all the edges anyhow that are covered, and now I can use DT because it is also forming the least cost. And the next one, the next least cost one is, so this is over, right? This is also over. Now I cannot add this even it is least cost, because if I add this, there is a cycle. Now which one I can consider? The least cost is this, but I cannot add this also. I cannot add this also because when I add them, they are forming the cycles. And now I can add this because the next least cost is this one, 7. And now, so n-1 edges are added, and you can stop the solution. You can stop the iterations. And even if you observe also, if I cannot add this because after adding this, it's forming a cycle. And what is the cost of this solution? The cost of the solution is 7 plus 3, 10, 13, 15, 17. The same cost you will be getting. So the total weight will not be the different. Even if you use the Prim's algorithm or Kruskal's algorithm, the total weight of the spanning tree will be the same. The only thing is, so if there is a possibility, you might get a different solution in terms of the edges you are using, but the total weight number will be the same in either of these approaches. Either use the Prim's approach or the Kruskal's approach, the total cost of the spanning tree, the resultant spanning tree will always be the same. And now let's see the algorithm, the pseudocode for this Prim's algorithm. So I have used a pseudocode because when you are using the heaps, then you will be getting the efficient solution for the Prim's algorithm. Now let's see. So in this algorithm, the inputs to this algorithm are G, which is a graph, W, which is the weights, and R, which indicates the root node. Initially, the root node will be one of the node you can select that can act as a root node. And for every node in your graph, for each U, that is every node in the graph, in the given graph. So you are assigning infinity to the key value, and you are assigning a null value to the parent value. So here pi represents the parent and key represents the key value for every node, and initially the random value you are selecting, or the root node, for that root node, so you are assigning 0 as the key for the root node, and you are constructing the queue for this graph. So once the queue is constructed, then so you can repeat this process. As long as the queue is not empty, then you need to repeat this process. What you need to do is, so you need to extract the minimum value from the queue. So for this you can use the regular binary heaps or the Fibonacci heaps also. Whatever the kind of heap you want to, so you can use, there is no restriction at all. So you need to extract the one with the minimum key value, and you assign that to, and for every edge v that is belonging to the adjacents of the graph, adjacent to the u in the graph, so you consider every such edge, and if that edge is belonging to the q, that is not part of the solution, and the weight of this edge uv is less than v dot key, then so that is the recent one, the recent least cost edge. So if it is less than that, then you can make the parent of v as u, and also you can update the key value of v with the w of u comma v. So you are adding that to the solution. So that is how you can solve this Prim's algorithm with the help of the heaps. The same algorithm I just have given in terms of the text, in terms of the textual description I used to describe the same algorithm. Whoever is not comfortable with that, they can go through this algorithm to understand. And now let's see the time complexity analysis of this algorithm. So time complexity basically depends on the data structure that you are using to implement the queue. So if you are using the binary heap to implement the queue data structure, then so the time complexity would be order of E log E, which is actually equivalent to order of E log V. That's what we have seen earlier, right? And if you are using the Fibonacci heap, then it would be order of V log V plus E, because so when you are using the Fibonacci heaps, the extract min operation will take lesser time than the binary heap, the one which in the binary heap. That's how the time complexity would be order of V log V plus E. So far in this lecture, we have seen what the minimal spanning trees are and what are the different approaches that can be used to solve the problem, and how the brute force approach is not an efficient solution for the MST, and how the greedy approach is efficiently offering the solution to solve the MST problem that we have seen. And two of the greedy approaches to solve MST we have discussed, that is the Kruskal's algorithm and the Prim's algorithm, and in addition to that we have seen the time complexity analysis of the algorithms. So I hope you understand how you can efficiently solve the MST problem along with the applications. Thank you for watching this video.